Welcome, everyone. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Susie Tanchel.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. We're so thrilled that you're here. As Laura said, my name is Susie Tanchel, and I am the Vice President of Hebrew College, and I really am thrilled to invite you all to this wonderful evening that I hope will be reminiscent of some of your experiences at Prozdor, because it has some excellent learning and community. And I imagine that whenever you were at Prozdor, those have been the consistent elements of this amazing program. And before I turn it over to our Director of Teen Learning, Rabbi Laura Bellows, I just wanted to say, Norm, I was thinking about candles and Hanukkah, since this is the 5th night of Hanukkah, and you and celebrating you tonight. And I was thinking, well, you taught for 38 years at Prozdor, which was unbelievable. And you were at Prozdor yourself for 4 years, so maybe that's 42 years and one candle for each decade, plus a decade to grow on. A candle to grow on for the decade to come. But that doesn't work out exactly. So Norm, then I thought, of course, you're the shamash, Norm. You're the one who has been lighting all the candles through the generations. Through your lights, you have been lighting up other people's souls and their hearts and their minds. And as you passed on your light didn't get dimmer. It just made everybody else's light stronger. So I just wanted to say thank you for all you have brought to this community. Mazel tov, and we are so excited to be celebrating you tonight and to be continuing to learn with this community and celebrate this community. So Rav Todot, many, many thanks. And I will turn it over to Rabbi Laura Bellows.
Thank you so much, Susie. Wow, shamash, that's like the perfect metaphor. I'm Rabbi Laura Bellows. The students know me as Rabbi Laura. I am the Director of Prozdor and Teen Learning at Hebrew College. Currently, it is a true honor to get to be in that role, and a real honor to have our second gathering of alumni in many, many years tonight, both in honor of Norm's many years teaching at Prozdor and also in the spirit of Hanukkah and getting to be together tonight and celebrate with some learning and some time to reconnect. So we're going to start off with some Hanukkah candle lighting, and I have to say it feels like a real blessing that Esther Shore, who maybe Esther, you can just wave. She and Iran, her husband, are the ones with the Hanukkot on their screen. I'm going to go ahead and pin you. Esther was one of my first Hebrew teachers before I started rabbinical school, and then we had the pleasure of getting to work together. And Esther taught also for many years at Prozdor, and it's great to have you back for some Hanukkah candle lighting to start off our evening. So I will turn it over to you.
Okay. Thank you. And Mazal Tov, Norman. I'm sure you're going to do many exciting things besides teaching for so many years. So we're looking forward to see what you will be doing. And we'll start. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר של חנוכה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשה ניסים לאבותינו בימים ההם בזמן הזה. הנרות הללו שאנו מדליקים, הנרות הללו שאנו מדליקים, על הניסים ועל הנפלאות ועל התשועות ועל המלחמות שעשית לאבותינו, שעשית לאבותינו בימים ההם, בימים ההם, בימים ההם, בזמן הזה, על ידי כהניך, כהניך הקדושים, שבכל 8 ימי החנוכה, הנרות הללו קודש הם, ואין לנו רשות להשתמש בהם, אלא לראותם בלבד, כדי להודות ולהלל לשמך הגדול, על ניסיך ועל נפלאותיך ועל ישועתך. You can join us. מעוז צור ישועתי, לך נאה לשבח, תיכון בתפילתי, ושם תודה נזבח, לתכין מטבע, מצם נבע, אז אגמור לשיר מזמור, חנוכת המזבח, אז אגמור לשיר מזמור, חנוכת המזבח.
Thank you so much, Hanukkah Sameach, to everyone. What a lovely way to start this evening together. I want to go ahead now and turn it over to hold on, I'm going to go back to our gallery view so everyone can see. Turn it over to Margie Berkowitz. Margie is not only a Prozdor alum herself, not only a Yavne alum, but also one of our Prozdor former directors during a real, wonderful long stretch of Prozdor, and worked both with Norm and with many educators who are here. So Margie, thank you so much for being with us tonight. And without further ado, I'll pass it over to you.
Norm, Yashar Koach, it's my pleasure and pride to speak to you. Chanoch Lenoar al pi darcho. Educate each young person according to his way. A profound, sensitive, and brilliant insight from our sages, way ahead of their time. Norm, your teaching embodies that philosophy which we implemented at Prozdor. You have many, many talents: writing, historian, scholar, parent and grandparent, storyteller, lover of Yiddishkeit, acting in biblical reenactments and Maccabea breaks, and of course, your intuitive understanding of teens, all of which come together to create an extraordinary teacher for each and every kind of student. You attracted more students to your classes than almost all other teachers. And the ultimate tribute at each Prozdor graduation over our years together, you were mentioned, acknowledged, and thanked by hundreds of our graduates. You influenced so many lives, Norm, and deepened the Jewish identity of so many different students from different backgrounds and learning styles. You received prizes and awards for your writing and your outstanding books. But the ultimate prize was your impact on the future of the Jewish people. Norm, I was asked to give you a bracha, a blessing tonight. But as I thought about it, I realized we are thanking you and honoring you because you are the blessing. For your students, your fellow teachers, for your wife, Roz, your kids, Jeff, Rob, and Risa, and their families, and for me and our entire community, for helping us to realize all of our dreams of the potential of Yavna and Prozdor to be fulfilled. For us, you and I, and others here tonight, I see Adina, to honor the legacy that we carry from our own teachers of generations that passed, that prepared us to become the guarantors of a new, vibrant American Jewish community. You have worked diligently and lovingly to ensure the next generation of educated and passionate Jews, strongly connected to Israel, who are knowledgeable about our history and committed to ensuring the future of the Jewish people. Norm, we love you and we thank you. May you be blessed for a lifetime of blessings that you have bestowed upon us. Adonai yivarechecha ad me'av v'yasrim, b'ahava toda.
Margie, what beautiful, beautiful, touching words, and so apt. Norm, you are indeed the blessing, and you have impacted so many people. And one of them, who we thought would be really a perfect speaker to honor you tonight, is you were the shamash that helped light the flame of the love of history that Dr. John Golden now carries when you were his teacher back in the Camp Yavne days. So how amazing it is that he carries on your legacy and is so really evidences so much of what you hold dear. Caring for students, caring about history, and caring about Judaism and Jewish identity. So it really is my great honor to introduce to everybody Dr. John Golden, who is currently a teacher at Gann Academy, who I had the pleasure of working with many years ago, and has really continues to imbue in his students a love of history, as Norm did. So John, thank you so much for being here. We really are honored to have you. It's a thrill. And I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Tanchel. Erev Tov, Chag Urim Sameach. It's such an honor to be here speaking as a graduate of the Prozdor program, as a graduate of Hebrew College in the Masters of Jewish Education program, but especially for the 13 summers I had the chance to spend at Camp Yavne, and many special memories with our honoree tonight with Norm. And of course, to be a good historian, I have to bring my evidence to prove it. So I have before you, this is the book. This Land of Liberty goes back to my Ma'alot summer, probably the first course I ever took in American Jewish history. And you can see it has my name, Jonathan Golden, B2 for the back. And I also found and still treasure and keep Norm's book about Theodor Herzl, which he inscribed to me and says, with my best wishes, see you back at camp, Norman Finkelstein, February 1988. And it so happens, I didn't know that back when I was 15 years old, that I would now have the role I currently have at Gann, which is as the Israel Curriculum Coordinator at Gann. So when I think about all that Norm gave me, not only the love of American Jewish history and teaching, but the love of Zionism in Israel, as Margie spoke about so beautifully. And I really look forward to this being a night where we get to share a number of memories and talk about all that Norm has contributed to the field. So I'm going to share my screen with you. And as I said, the theme of tonight is about the planting of seeds, which I think is a powerful metaphor for teaching. And Norm certainly planted the seeds in me, as I just mentioned, for my teaching of American Jewish history, teaching history overall. And I'm so honored, as I mentioned, for all of my connections to Prozdor, Hebrew College, and Camp Yavne to speak in honor of Norm this evening. But I want to invite all of you. The power of Zoom is that all of us have the opportunity in real time to share our memories. So at any time, anything that I say that sparks a memory, a story for you, please put it in the chat, because that chat can be saved, and that can be part of the memories that we'll be able to save and Norm and his family will be able to keep after this event is over. So please take the opportunity to do that throughout the evening. Now, one thing I'm going to share for just a moment, because there's really only one way that I can truly begin this talk, and anyone who was at Yavne in the 1980s, as I was when Norm was Rosh Chinuch, I think will appreciate this. So again, give me just a moment to get my screen ready for this, for a very short and important clip.
Afternoon, everybody. Norm! How you doing, Norm? What do you know? Not enough.
So why do I share this clip? Anyone who knows the classic 1980s TV show Cheers from the 1980s, and was with me at Camp Yavne when we would be in the Hanukkah together, anytime Norm would approach the microphone to make an announcement, you would hear in unison, Norm. It was a little bit deeper, more like a bellowing, Norm, right, would come forward. And whether he was talking about something that would happen in education, or imagine this, I was back at Yavne in the days where there were 3.5 to 4 hours of classes every day in the morning, and Pulat Erev, one of the big activities was study night for the big exam that would come, that we would have. Really an amazing time to be a student. And in other moments, to see Norm and many of the fellow teachers do these amazing reenactments, like Charlton Heston of the 10 Commandments, bare-chested as Charlton Heston was. So these amazing memories of those eras and all of those memories. So again, hopefully that will spark some memories for you. So I'm going to return now to the PowerPoint. And again, please continue to share those memories throughout. In preparing for this talk, I had the opportunity to reconnect with so many of my good friends from Yavne, but I thought my good friend Amichai Zippor put it best, a fellow member of Karen 89. And this is what he said about Norm, what he remembered as him, both as his teacher at Yavne, but also as his teacher at Prozdor. And he wrote to me, a good teacher is usually a good storyteller. And Norm has that quality, which is why his unassuming nature blended with a love for telling stories made him interesting to listen to as a little kid or as a teenager. And Amichai mentioned that he still has a book, and here I have the picture of the book here on his bookshelf. Amichai now lives in Jerusalem, in Israel, and he has this book, The Other 1492, because it was a brilliant title for something many of us growing up in America take or took for granted. We all knew about Columbus, but how many of us understood that many of our own families or our own people were affected at the same time by an event so massive that as Columbus was about to change the face of the world, a major part of the body of the Jewish world had already collapsed. So again, here's someone decades later still impacted by Norm's teaching, as again, I imagine many of us are this evening, and we'll be sharing memories together. So many of you, I'm sure you know much about Norm's biography, his story, a public school librarian for much of his career. Here in Brookline, as I learned at the devotion school and elsewhere, a graduate of Hebrew College and Boston University, so many awards for his books, National Book Awards, and I'll be showing some pictures of them throughout the presentation. Because of he's such a prolific writer, these amazing papers that are housed at the University of Connecticut, we can trace his career. And I love this quote that he shares on his Amazon biography as the only kid in the 6th grade who regularly read the New York Times. Something I can relate to very much as someone who loved current events, and I am sure that love of current events came from teachers like Norm. So how does Norm describe himself as a teacher and his role and the way he impacts others, both through his teaching and his writing? These are Norm's own words, where he talked about, when people ask me what I do, my response is, I fill holes. If you know who my reading audience is, you'll understand. Most of my books are geared towards young adult readers. This is the age group that doesn't know what it doesn't know. So I try to fill holes in their knowledge of history and culture. My books are on an eclectic mix of subjects, from a cultural history of plastics, biographies of Edward R. Murrow and Theodore Herzl, the golden age of radio, to the good old days of the 1950s. As I research and write on a new subject, I think I learn as much, if not more, than my intended readers. And many of us know from all of these books, this informed many of the courses that Norm has taught through the years, and just share the passion of what he learned through all of his research projects. So I only ever have a short selection of the many amazing Prozdor course titles, and I'd love to learn later which Many of you have the privilege to take many of these classes. I won't read all the titles, but take a moment to look. I love the title, Hush Puppies and Matzo Balls, Jewish Life in the American South, Being Together and Apart, Jews, Blacks, and Civil Rights, a wide variety of stories you can see through his titles. Some more on this next page, The Borscht Belt to Broadway, Rough, Tough, and Orthodox, Jewish Gangster in America. And you can see the range of titles, the range of approaches, all informed by the tremendous research that Norm did, and bringing history alive for a young adult audience. Always the core of his work, whether that was in the classroom or in the books that he wrote. And now, so as you can see here, so it was mentioned before, what was Norm working on? He's still working on 2 amazing books, which I'm really looking forward to having the chance to read. A biography of Abraham Kahan, and a book, very important and timely book on anti-Semitism that will be accessible for a young adult audience. I think something very much needed in our field. And you can see again in the next few slides on the right, some examples of a wide variety of titles and books that Norm has written about through the years. So I want to share next some of the lessons from Norm that come across both through his teaching, but also through his writing. And here I pulled from a Boston Sunday Globe article where he was interviewed, and he emphasized, and you can sense it as teacher, as librarian, this quote, that young people should be encouraged to enjoy reading for its own sake. Something that Norm clearly valued in the classroom, and why he shared the books, as I shared with me, and he did with many of his students through the years. And about what voice you use when teaching to students. You see number 2. You can't talk down to them, to children. You don't take anything for granted as far as what they know, and yet you have to present facts with just enough supplemental anecdotal stuff to make it interesting. And certainly, I hope you have the privilege, if you've not had a chance to read his books, you will see what a lovely, light, accessible, fun voice in which he writes, which really achieves the goals that he set out. And this, I think, is a truly amazing story. We try to teach all of our students, I certainly do again, and I imagine many teachers in this room, resilience, growth mindset. And look what Norm said and what he took out of this book, which he wrote about Edward R. Murrow. First, he talked about his first ever book, Remember Not to Forget, which he said appeared in 1985 after 26 rejections. And yet it still was published, and a very successful and important book. And he ties us back to this story. Readers often want to know what keeps me going as a writer. When I asked the late CBS correspondent Charles Kuralt to share a memory of Edward R. Murrow, about whom I was writing a biography, Kuralt responded, "Beginners need confidence." Of course, I never had the nerve to ask Murrow for advice directly, but if I had, I believe he would have said, "Become good at what you do, and everything else will take care of itself." I couldn't have said it better myself. I would, however, add 2 more words: persistence and patience. When I speak at schools, I always bring copies of my copy-edited manuscripts with the crossing outs, editor notes, and grammatical corrections. This always impresses my young readers who sometimes imagine that books are created full-blown out of a writer's mind. And I think what a wonderful lesson, a visual lesson about the importance of revision and refining one's writing that Norm models through all of those talks. Now, there's so many I could have added here of the wonderful testimonials. What is it like to hear Norm speaking and reading from his works? An author that can both write and speak with equal appeal to his audiences. The faces were fixed on him and loving every word. And anyone who's had him in the classroom can relate to these quotes. History peppered with humorous vignettes of historical figures that made the talk informative and enjoyable. And really, his love of the subject is truly contagious. Anyone who knows Norm knows that that's the case. So I was asked to bring a little bit of history, and I thought, what better history to connect Norm to than Hebrew College, which is celebrating its centennial, its 100th year. And I'm so thankful to Dan Judson, who's written a history of the first 100 years, that he shared the next few quotes and sections I want to share with you, because I think each of them speak to the important role that Hebrew College has played in the Boston community and connect to important ways that Norm has been part of that history and part of the role that Hebrew College has played in our community. So first, going back to the early years, just in the first year of the college, this quote of simply educating young Jews was not sufficient for its goals. Dan Judson wrote, the founders of the college wanted to create an institution which would raise the status of Jewish scholarship in the non-Jewish world. And to think about all the books that Norm has written through the years of all kinds of subjects have definitely achieved that primary goal, which goes back to the very beginning of the college, of sharing Jewish scholarship, Jewish wisdom with a wider world through his work as a librarian and through being an author. When I think about the role of Camp Yavne, and there's a wonderful section there about its history and its vision, that it's a response to a crisis in Jewish education, and that there's been a challenge of generations of children lost as conscious Jews. But the power of Yavne was countered by immersion. Instead of wrestling with an indefinite environment, we decided to create an environment that would be our own. Instead of competing with general education for the spare time of the child, there would be no competition at all. The total child and all of his time would be left to our disposal. The summer vacation became a gold mine for Jewish education. This certainly speaks to my own autobiography. Long before the 10 for 2 phrase was famous, living 10 months of the year for the 2 months of camp, that was definitely my experience and feeling growing up and going to Yavne. And I asked my question, the reason I'm doing what I'm doing now, because of Norm and all the great and wonderful educators and Mad Yuchim at Yavne, is why does this experience of Jewish life only last 2 months of the year? How can we bring it to the rest of the year? That's a quest I've still been trying to figure out throughout my career, and I really am grateful for the founders of Yavne and Norm's role in Yavne's history. And I thought about, too, the Hebrew College of the World where Norm himself was a student. And there are a lot of wonderful pieces about the incredible library you can see that was there. And you can see now the beautiful Beaux-Arts mansion in Brookline, where I had the privilege to do my master's program still in the mid-90s. And about 2 teachers in particular. And I thought the qualities that Dan Judson picked up about them in his research speak so beautifully to Norm, too. To Dr. Mordechai Walensky, who was a teacher of Jewish history, who upon his retirement, the college created a scholarship in his honor, just as there is now a fund in honor of Norm. But look at the qualities: his balanced energy, his sharp wit, and vital interest in each of his students. And that it was inconceivable anyone else could teach Jewish history at the college. Dr. Walensky quite simply was Jewish history. Again, a reminder of my favorite quote, anecdotally, that's quoted to Mark, that's attributed to Mark Twain: history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. You can hear the rhymes of Norm as teacher to Dr. Mordechai Walensky, but also Norm as librarian, and of Dr. Joseph Marcus at the time, remembered for not just for his intellect, but his warmth. We love Dr. Marcus because he was self-effacing and gentle. We respected him because his life and acts were a model for all of us to follow. Again, we can connect a lot of that to what we all love and appreciate about Norm. So to conclude, I had the privilege to speak to all of Norm's children who had wonderful anecdotes, and I hope they'll share more as we do our reunions tonight. I love what Risa shared about the memories of what was it like to be woken up Sunday morning by her father. Risa, it's time to get up. Even I can really picture and hear him saying that and what that must have been like, that experience. For Rob, talking about the memories of being at Yavne and sneaking off to his parents' house and the Entenmann's cake he was able to acquire, I'm sure that had some influence on the wonderful baking career that he now has. And then, of course, and Jeff really spoke beautifully and lovingly about how both of his parents, both Norm and Roz, their work, their sacrifice to make camp and Yavne possible for all of them, and showing how that's influenced his very important career as a Federation head in Pittsburgh and all that he has done, too. And then he talked also about the enthusiasm and passion that comes from Norm's books, which led to many courses. And also, Jeff wanted to know and remind me, and it's a really beautiful tribute he writes in this first book, Remember Not to Forget. And look, here's the tribute that he writes, that Norm wrote to his family. To Rosalind with love, to Jeff, Rob, Risa with hope, which I think, as Jeff put it well, communicates his hope for the next generation of Jews to stay connected and to stay curious. So finally, as we conclude, I want to return to that metaphor of seeds, the planting of seeds as teachers. So often as teachers, we plant seeds and we don't know where they go. We don't know how the flowers, the plants, the growth of what we've planted. But I think when we see the wonderful group of people assembled tonight and all who have and will be honoring Norm, Norm does have the privilege, and that's his greatness as a teacher. He's stayed connected, and he's inspired so many in this community with their love of Jewish history, of Jewish tradition, the model of teaching he has been for so many. So with that, I really want to wish Norm a mazel tov and look forward to hearing the other memories and testimonials that others will give tonight. So mazel tov and todah rabah, Norm, for all you've done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jonathan Golden, for that. Both incredibly informative, but also I feel like you really brought to light what immense you are, Norm, and how many students you have reached through simply being who you are. Thank you so much, and I want to turn it over to you, Norm. in case you wanted to say a few words.
Thank you. First of all, thank you, Margie, for those lovely, lovely words. And thank you, John, for really taking me back in time. I really appreciate your teachings and your very kind words. And I want to thank Hebrew College too for this honor and for the establishment of this special fund for teenage learning, which I think is so important. So as John mentioned, my connections to Prozdor and Hebrew College go all the way back, much further back than my 38 years of Prozdor teaching. It began in 1953, if you can imagine, okay? And I was accepted into Prozdor after taking, and I should add, passing the entrance exam and the very, very difficult interview with the college dean, Dr. Isaac Zilberschlag. Thankfully, these kinds of steps to get into Prozdor no longer exist. But the 4 years at Prozdor, my 4 years in Hebrew College, the years afterwards when I received my master's in 1986, I mean, these are, to me, very, very important parts of my life. In fact, if we did like I'm not good in math, but we could figure out that a good portion of my life was spent connected to Hebrew College. So in my day back in Prozdor, it was a 4-year, 5-day-a-week program. All instruction was in Hebrew, and our teachers were mostly European-trained scholars. When a student several years ago asked me, what did you do, for your extracurricular activities in public school? I gave him a one-word answer: Prozdor. That was my extracurricular activity for 4 years. My interest in Jewish history, as John very warmingly, recalled, was through the influence of Dr. Mordecai Walensky. He was erudite. He knew history. He wrote about history. But what mainly turned me on was his very corny sense of humor. He was my inspiration. Prozdor has been a Finkelstein family tradition. My sister Linda and my brother-in-law Jonas went to Prozdor. And as John mentioned, of course, all of my 3 kids. I used to say they had no choice, but I needed somebody to accompany me on Sunday mornings. But it was all good.
Hold on one moment, Norm. You seem to have gone on mute.
I hit the wrong button.
Great.
If we did this live, it wouldn't happen. So I'm, I guess, a living reminder of how Prozdor has transformed itself over the years, from 5-day-a-week to 3-day-a-week to 1-day-a-week, and into the teen learning programs of today. What has not changed are the students. They continue to be inquisitive, smart, and proud Jews eager to expand their connections to the Jewish world. As John mentioned too, my courses over the 38 years have been, how shall we put it, eclectic. They've gone from Herzl and Dreyfus to Jewish gangsters and entertainers, from colonial Jews in America to the Spanish Inquisition and everything in between. A really mixed bag. My hope was that at least a few of my students were enticed enough to further pursue study in Jewish history. And John Golden is a perfect success story. Prozdor remains a largely unsung community treasure. At a time when Jewish kids face the challenge of growing anti-Semitism, they need to know where they came from and to assume responsibility for continuing our great traditions. We need to do everything we can to assure that the Prozdor opportunity continues for succeeding generations of Jewish teens. Again, I thank you. I'm humbled.
Wow, thank you so much, Norm. What a blessing, truly, to have you here tonight and to have gotten to really be colleagues with you and to learn from you and during your last few years at Prozdor. We are, I want to invite everyone actually at this moment, if you're able to turn on the gallery view. We have here, we have tonight alumni who are joining us across 7 decades of graduation years, and and probably beyond in terms of connections within our families. And it is a true pleasure and honor to say that we're about to transition to some space where we get to talk to each other and connect and catch up and meet people who perhaps you haven't met before. So the way that we're going to do this is we're going to be going into breakout rooms, but I just want to say, for all of you who have also been on Zoom a lot the last 2 years, sometimes you hear the word breakout rooms and it makes you want to run. So I just want to say we're doing it for 20 minutes. This is your chance to actually really stay with us. Here's the plan for the rest of our evening. We're going to spend some time basically generally by decade. Jenna Shaw, who can maybe raise their hand, wave a little. Jenna is our fabulous rabbinic intern and is helping us with tech tonight. So Jenna is in a minute gonna post different breakout room options. And the way this is going to work is that you can actually go to the room that speaks to you. So if you graduated in 1995, you can go to the room that includes 1995, or you could go visit another room at some point. But I would encourage you, if you are a Prozdor alum, to start in the room with other alumni of your decade, of your era. If you are a former teacher who are here, feel free to join in a room that speaks to you. If you're friends or family, feel free to also, you're welcome to stay in the main room to chat if you want, or you can go join a room. But the way it's going to work is that we're not assigning you to a set room. You get to move yourself there. So Jenna, are we ready? Okay, wonderful. So in just a minute, we're gonna open those breakouts. A couple of things that are gonna happen. One is I'm gonna go ahead and paste some prompts into the chat. And 2 of our largest breakouts from the, really from the 70s and the 90s are gonna be led by Paul Sternlieb, who has helped us and has taken on some leadership for tonight. Paul, can you wave? A little wave. Thank you, Paul. And by Ross, where's Ross? By Ross Silverstein, there he is. He's going to be holding down 1970s cohort. If you're in a room that doesn't have a facilitator, that's fine. I trust you all to talk and schmooze. But here are some questions that you can take with you as a starting place. So Jenna, let's go ahead and post those. Great, the breakout rooms. Yeah, post the breakouts, and everyone can choose where to go, and we'll give you a warning, a little broadcasted warning when it's about 2 minutes till we're all coming back. So the way you find the breakout room, if anyone's having trouble with that, is you click on breakout rooms at the bottom of your screen. And if you scroll down to you should see a list of different years. Those are the names of the different rooms, and you can click on the number that's next to it, 1s or 0s or that kind of thing, to join that room. Great. And if anyone wants some help getting to where they want to go, you can also come off mute in the main room and we'll help you get there. Okay, how's everyone doing in the main room? Anyone need help heading somewhere?
Yeah, I need help.
Great. Adina, where do you want to head to?
I'll figure.
Okay. So welcome back. I'd love to hear in the chat, what is something that you remember? Something that you remember from your Prozdor days, or some little, as short as you can get it, some story from that time. So let's take a minute, share some stories in the chat. It could be norm related. It could just be related to, you know, we are here both for, you know, a reunion of our alumni community and also honoring Norm. So any and all stories. Well, I don't know, any stories, you know, within reason. Welcome. How the bakery near Brookline? Anyone else remember a bakery near Brookline? That sounds good. Many of our students these days go down after Prozdor to Starbucks.
My son Jeffrey could tell you about that bakery. I think on a Sunday morning, it was near St. Mary Street in Brookline, 2 blocks from the old Hebrew College. And he spent considerable time there.
I'm still wearing a bunch of the pounds that we put on every Sunday morning before class. Jeff and I walking over there. Yeah.
Was that the Japanese bakery, or was that later?
Jeff and Paul say Savoy French bakery. Wow. What about the name of a teacher you remember? This is, you know, it could be Norm, could be someone else. and what they taught. Or a subject that you remember learning.
Rabbi Gold, another sweetheart. Right. Whoop, where'd it go?
I mentioned in our little group, which was probably the smallest group of the because of the age, but we all looked good. That we had these European trained teachers, these scholars, whatever, and they had to put up with us as, you know, 12, 13, 14-year-old kids. It's a wonder they did not die early. I mean, it's amazing.
Wow. Wow, I love all these names in the chat too, and the you know, keep the commentary coming, Norm. What about someone who you met at Prozdor or the Prozdor Yavne days, who you're still in touch with? Is there someone, maybe you're very in touch with them, maybe you're, you know, maybe they're a parent, someone. Oh, we have someone who met their husband. I know multiple people in this space.
One of the teachers was Mr. Martin, who came from Morocco and won a Hebrew poetry contest. And he got the opportunity either to go to Israel or come to the US. And he was only a few years older than me, and he was teaching at Yavne, and my family sort of adopted him when he went to Boston and was at BU for a year, and then went to Philadelphia, and he was at Gratz for many years, and then he was unfortunately a victim of a hit and run, and that pretty much ruined the rest of his career. And myself and my sister, who was I think Margie's classmate, she was like 61, we kept in touch with him every year. We'd exchange either phone calls or cards on the holidays. He had a sister and family in Philadelphia, but he was another very interesting character. He used to say his father made the best wine in Casablanca.
Wow, what a story. Thank you, Joel. So we're gonna do one last, oh, thanks, Ross. Great. I hope folks are reading the chat as well. So one last question in the chat for now, and then I'm gonna transition us a bit, is what, this is, I have to say I have some, on behalf of Hebrew College, some personal interest in this, but what do you want to see next? What would be your dreams for ways to stay connected to the Prozdor community, to Hebrew College? Like, what are you hoping for? Maybe you haven't hoped about it yet, but now's your time. Do a little brainstorming. And maybe you're already involved in learning opportunities through the college or things like that. But we are just at the cusp, just at the beginning of reconnecting with the many thousands of people that are part of our Prozdor alumni community, and getting together in person, of course, would be wonderful. Of course, with refreshments. I mean, same goes anytime. I always say you can't have a teen gathering without food. Food should always be in the budget. I think that's probably true of all people of all ages. Conversational Hebrew classes, Hebrew conversations, baked goods. I wonder, is this voice still around? Probably not. I don't know. West Coast. I know we also have alumni, many alumni who are in Israel who wanted to be here, and this is not well timed for them. So having other events at other times. And Rob is going to bake for all of us at our next gathering.
Thank you for scheduling at a time.
Rob.
So thank you for scheduling at a time that was actually convenient from the West Coast.
I'm so glad to hear that. We tried on that front. Israel was a little trickier. So I wanted to thank you all for everything you've written into the chat, and truly for being here tonight. Everyone who made tonight happen, first and foremost, all of you for showing up. And I'll come back to you in a minute. I want to give a special shout out to some folks who are on this call who took special leadership in helping make tonight happen. First of all, Norm, thank you for letting us honor you in this way, and take the time to celebrate all these years. And to Dr. Jonathan Golden for creating a history presentation about Norm and about Hebrew College. To Margie Berkowitz for your dedication to Prozdor and for leading it for so many years, and for the beautiful blessing and thank you that you gave to Norm tonight. To Dr. Susie Tanchel for being our vice president at Hebrew College and my supervisor, and a wonderful teacher in the community and at Hebrew College as well. Thank you for all your support with this. To Rosa Frank, who is somewhere there, not on my current screen, but I know you are there. There you are. Rosa is our Director of Development at Hebrew College, and I could not have done this without you. Thank you so much for your support and help. The rest of our development team and the rest of our teen learning team have also been an integral part of this. Jenna Shah, who is our rabbinic intern, so over at the rabbinical school, and they're also with us on Sunday mornings teaching and connecting with our teens here and now, and helping us with tech tonight. So Jenna, thank you for being here. A special shout out to Leah Goldstein, is our director of Jewish Teen Foundation of Greater Boston. She's getting married this weekend, so wasn't able to join us tonight, but otherwise would have been here. And Rabbi Claudia Martin is the director of the program. There will be an email going out tomorrow morning with information about all of our programs that are currently running, so you can learn more about them. Of course, you know about Prozdor, but about the rest of the teen learning department as well. I wanted to also say that, there are often we have alumni, as you know, for many different decades, but two alumni tonight, Ross Silverstein and Paul Sternlieb, helped us, in facilitating small breakout groups, but also, stepped up and said, you know what, like, we'll help be a part of the leadership of this reunion. We want to help make it happen. So it's also, big thank you to both of you, and an invitation to other alumni to join us in the future in helping make these kinds of events happen. Thank you to everyone who reached out on that front, and please keep reaching out. The last thing I wanted to say is that we are the last. There's always more to say, but we are right at a moment of a lot of growth and transition. We have shifted our department from being just Prozdor to really being Prozdor and Jewish Teen Foundation of Greater Boston, and Teen Beit Midrash, which has doubled in size during the pandemic, which is teens studying serious Talmud for close to 3 hours every week. It's now also reaching teens from all over the country who are joining us online one night. And we are, yay, thanks, Judy. And we are on Sunday mornings at Prozdor, which sometimes we call PTAC, Prozdor Teen Open Circle. We are offering still a wide range of different courses and modern Hebrew, both at Hebrew College and also out in the community around Boston now. We're running some PTAC courses now at Temple Shalom and Medford and all over. So please feel free to connect to us about that if you're local. It is really all of you, our alumni community, that is the network that sustains us. Of course, we wouldn't be here without our current students and without our parents and without the many, many people who have taught for Prozdor. If you've taught for Prozdor, can you just give a wave? If you are one of our current or former, yes, Prozdor teachers, just give it up for them. Show them some love. It really, we could not do it without you. If you are someone who has either your parent or you have a child who has gone to Prozdor, can you give a wave? Also, many, many people, I don't have a parent or a child who's gone to Prozdor, but I got to, be in the role I'm in. Thank you all for that. So for all of the many ways that you are connected to this community, even, whether you yourself were an alum or whether many people in your family are, thank you for your time, for your dedication, and for the many people who have already donated to the Norm Finkelstein Fund for Teen Learning at Hebrew College. It's something that when we were thinking last spring about Norm's legacy and the many, many students he has taught, one of the ways that I really hope his legacy continues in so many ways. One of it is our commitment to history and to high quality and rigorous Jewish education, to humor, of course, to Menschlichkeit, but also to the ongoing existence and sustenance of our teen learning programs at Hebrew College. So thanks to all who have already contributed to that. And if you had not yet had a chance to, we'll put the link in the chat, and we would love your support before December 31st. I also want to say that, as you know, Hebrew College is right in the midst of celebrating our centennial, which means that Prozdor Centennial is around the corner, but there are many events, including a lecture tonight and ongoing art exhibits, music, all different kinds of things that we are doing to honor and celebrate our centennial. So I hope to see you at some of those events. In the email that goes out tomorrow, that you'll see tomorrow, there are two things I want to highlight. One is there will be the link to the fund in case you still want to make a gift. The second thing is that there's a link to our programs. So if you know teens or families that have teens that might want to join us today, to the Teen Learning Department and all of our programs in Prozdor today, please do spread the word. We have things both online, as I said, for teens near and far, and in person in Boston. I know I've said finally like 7 times, but here we are. Finally.
Finally, I want to thank you, Laura. Really, this would not have happened without your commitment to honoring Norm, for your appreciation for all that he's brought, and also for bringing the alumni together. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Susie. Thanks. We often talk about light during Hanukkah. It's one of those, we talked about seeds. John Golden talked about planting seeds and the growing of the seeds. And as I'm sure many of you know, there's this debate between, should we honor the miracle of Hanukkah through reducing the light each day since the oil got used up, or should we grow that light? But I have to say there's a slightly different question that has always intrigued me, which is the question of, given that the dominant opinion, the one that won out, is that we grow the light each night. Thank God that the light is growing, as Esther and Iran, showed us that we get to increase that in our lives. Why do we say that the first night was a miracle? Because if they found enough oil, according to the rabbinic story, that there was enough oil for one night, what's the miracle in that? Why bless the first night? And I've been thinking about it in the context of what we're doing here. This idea that across 7 decades of Prozdor, and many decades before that, we just don't have their representation in person, that we have been growing this light here for almost a century, and ongoing. That Prozdor is one of the few programs of its kind in the country that exists, and it really continues to reinvent itself and continues to thrive, to add more candles, so to speak. So then the miracle of that first light is actually an act of deep hope. It's a way of saying that even as we restart each year and relight our Hanukkah, that we are trusting, that we are saying a blessing that is an act of trust in the ongoing miracles that will come. The number of students we have yet to meet who will show up. We're about to launch our winter trimester of learning. We've switched to trimesters, spoiler alert. And our winter trimester of learning has a whole new lineup of courses and new teachers. And it really feels to me like we are constantly, adding new candles onto our Hanukkah, but that the base of it is all of you. Thank you for being here. Thanks for sustaining us. I love getting to tell our students that they are part of a vast community of alumni who are all over the world. And it is so true, and it's such a blessing to be here with you all tonight. So Hanukkah Sameach, we're gonna keep this Zoom room open for a few minutes. We're ending early. We're gonna keep the Zoom room open for a few minutes in case some folks want to schmooze. But we're gonna wrap up the evening with that. And yeah, thank you again, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone. Good to see you. Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach. And all together now. Norm.
Norm.
Never did that.
Okay.
Mazel tov, Norm.
Mazel tov, Norm.
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov, Norm.
Yasher koach.
Thank you.
Yasher
I attribute it to longevity.
I hope you had fun, Norm.
I did. Thank you. This was also so very, very meaningful, and like as I said, very much appreciated. And I just like the idea of being able to support Prozdor, even though I'm not teaching there anymore.
Thank you.
And now you're sharing a lot of your teachings with us, Norm.
That's right.
What are you going to do to keep busy now?
Well, I have 2 book deadlines and whatever. So I'm keeping busy.
You still owe me a copy, Dave. How many of
I
us?
do. I do. And we will do this soon.
Okay, very good. And Dina, so good to see you.
Very well, good, great to see you too.
I don't think, last time I think I saw you was at Hebrew Rehab.
Good night, Norm.
Probably. Yes,
Many years ago. Yeah.
that was a number of years ago. Stay well.
Everyone stay well.
Norman, we'll have dinner when you come to Sarasota, okay?
I look forward to it. And Stan, send me your email address.
To what?
I'll put it in the chat.
To his Prozdor email account.
Well, whatever. Hold on a second.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
There we go. Okay.
Although it seems that the Prozdor email accounts never, they stick around.
Okay. I even spelt it correctly. Okay.
Did you send it yet?
It's in the chat.
I'm not seeing it.
Oh, all right. Well, we'll send it again. One second. Don't disappear. Don't disappear.
I want to say, Norm, it's also it's such a pleasure to meet some of your family that's on here. Hi Rob. Hi Jeff. Good to see you. Good to meet you all.
Jeff is using the same whitening formula that I use on my hair.
Yeah. Norma, all I could think of was the stanza of Moa's Sword that nobody knows, that starts Yevanimnik Betsu Alai. And all I could think of is substituting Finkelstein for Yevanim, because there's just so many Finkelsteins on the screen.
Yeah, they're here and they're scattered all over the place. So it's
great to see all the Finkelsteins.
It's nice that they're here.
Is it, you say it Finkelstein, not Finkelstein?
Well, you can call me anything, but not late for dinner. But we usually, my preference is Finkelstein, whatever. But my Zadie was Finkelstein, so whatever.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine. And it was nice that so many folks showed up here that I haven't seen in a long time. So it's kind of nice. And people like Ed Shems, whose work I see all the time, thanks to cinnamonstick.com. But we do that. And Dan Palmer, it's good to see you as well, my old colleague.
Same. I miss our run-ins in the morning with your morning routine. The newspaper, I didn't know the newspaper was a whole thing with the family as a part of who you were, but it was part of how I knew you. Newspaper on the table and banana in hand, and
banana. That's correct. That my wife provided with me. I keep up my nutrition. Yeah, right. Exactly.
Good. Good. You were. I mentioned this in my note when I made a donation in your honor. But not only were you a teacher for the students, but you were a teacher for the teachers, and for those of us who have taught at Prozdor, I know I learned as much as I think the students did from you.
Thank you.
It only normally with events, it takes like 20 reminders for me to sign up. I signed up at the first reminder for this one. I was waiting for it when I found out you were retiring. I was like, when are we going to celebrate Norm? And I'm glad that we were able to do it like this.